the 11th day of Christmas, namely 90s, gave to me 11 ghosts possessing, 10 Keenan scheming, 9 orphans playing, 8 Urkels geeking, 7 twins twinning, 6 sliders sliding, 5 fruit cakes, 4 time loops, 3 young kids, 2 prophetic dreams, and a refrigerator day bonus.
Awesome.
That was good.
Welcome to Namely 90s. Wow. The podcast that takes you back to the time before smartphones, Google, and Y2K. Join your hosts as they relive the pop culture that shaped a generation and the parts that many people wish they could forget. Listen in to the conversation about how the decade defined those who spent their childhood there and how it shaped them as adults. So, turn down the grunge and dial up the internet. Let's get started. It's time for Namely 90s.
That's right. You're listening to Namely 90s. My name's Andrew, and over there is Brandon.
That's me.
You can find us online at namely90s.com or on Instagram and Twitter at namely90s with a 90s. This show is also released on YouTube at namely90s.com/YouTube, and feel free to head on over to patreon.com/namely90s with a 90s if you'd like to support the show. And a big welcome to the 11th installment of our second annual 12 Days of Christmas specials. Brandon's just making random...
Well, I was going for 11, and then it's our second 11, so that's...
yes, it is.
And then I went a little Nixon-y with it, so I apologize.
As usual, we have another special guest. Brandon, would you like to introduce him today?
Yes. Well, first of all, Happy New Year's Eve, everyone. You're listening to this on the day that it is dropped. We have on the podcast today, we have Scott from... And I always have to pause before I say this because it's awesome and it's very in your face. There's like 5 exclamation marks, I think, in the name. I might be exaggerating on that last part, but it's all 90s action all the time, and also New Horror Express. We got a host of 2 epic podcasts joining us right now.
He's a double threat,
Scott,
with regards to podcasting, I guess.
Indeed. Not, I don't think I'll ever be a triple threat though. So it's too much.
You never know what you might take on in the future. But yes, welcome to Namely 90s.
Yes,
welcome to the 12 Days of Christmas specials. And,
thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely.
To talk about the X-Files.
So to start off, do you want to tell us a little bit about either All 90s Action All the Time or New Horror Express, or both simultaneously?
Okay, yeah, I can tell you a little bit about both shows. So All 90s Action All the Time is a podcast where me and my regular co-host, Craig Draheim from Bloodhound Pix, and often a special guest, we'll talk about a 90s action movie. We'll do like a kind of plot commentary on that movie. This year, the way we've done it, we've kind of done specific seasons based on specific action stars. This year, we've done Steven Seagal, Sylvester Stallone, Kurt Russell, and by the time this goes out, our Val Kilmer season all have been done and dusted as well. But going into 2022, we're changing it up. So each month we will have 2 films, one from 1992, one from 1997. So they're both having anniversary years, 30th, 25th. And each month we'll have a kind of theme as well. So going into January, we're going to have Chanuary, where we'll be looking at Police Story 3 Super Cop and Mr. Nice Guy. And yeah, we'll go on the year like that with the action one. With New Horror Express, it is a fortnightly interview podcast where I chat to indie horror directors, but also sometimes authors and actors, screenwriters, stuff like that. And also we have like a spin-off show called the Guilty Pleasures podcast, where once a month I talk about guilty pleasures horror movie from the 21st century, usually with one of my former guests. So I know that's a lot, but
no, that's really awesome.
And for our ignorant American listeners, a fortnight is not just a video game; it's also 2 weeks. Just saying.
A fork knife is 2 weeks.
Fork knife? What?
That's awesome.
What do you call it?
It's a sad state of affairs. The thing that's funny about the way we say things, it would be either 14 days, 2 weeks, or apparently bi-weekly means either twice in a week or every other week. Yes. And that's really confusing to me.
Yeah. I recently found this out as well, because I always assumed that bi-weekly meant like just twice a week. But like, it can mean either.
Very weird. The English language.
Yeah, we never come to like an actual agreement on what it is, because like I'll say bi-weekly and someone else will say bi-weekly and they'll be like, so twice a week or every other week? And it's like
twice every other week.
All I know is that the week goes both ways.
Or maybe I should change the description on the podcast description there, because like I recently realized, looking at my statistics, that 80% of my audience is American for New Horror Express.
Oh, wow.
for some reason. So like
we do love our horror stories over here.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. For those of our listeners that remember all the way back to, I think was it July? No, August, closer to August.
I would say August.
I had the luxury of being a guest host for your Kurt Russell season, where we talked about Escape from LA.
Yeah.
Very much enjoyed getting to hop on there, and I think it was just you and me, Scott, because Craig had other things to do. So
yes, I had some sort of crappy excuse. I don't remember. I do apologize for my absence.
Yeah,
there was something.
I think Craig was visiting his parents or something, and when he goes up there, his folks live in like northern Michigan, and internet is like in a forest or something. I don't know, but like the internet doesn't exist. It's just the connection is very bad, and we've tried to record when he's been up there, and it's often gone.
Each data packet arrives on a horse. That's how bad they're saying.
Yeah, without rider, it just shows up.
Actually, it's probably a dog sled in reality.
Depending on the month. I think Andrew's excuse I gave was something akin to he was moving out of his studio and didn't have his new studio created at the moment.
I was driving through a tunnel for an hour and a half. That's why.
Well, I do like making up random excuses, like he fell into an endless void.
I like using the excuse if I'm driving through a tunnel, because I live in a place that has no tunnels. Whenever you hear that with phone calls, there's not a tunnel anywhere near here. It's my favorite. Anyway.
And we won't give it away, but this for your upcoming season, we have signed on to do a proper episode with the both of us. So enjoy this chemistry that you're getting right now, because we're going to bring it in full force in 2022. But the New Horror Express is also really cool, because you get to like you said, you interview indie directors and of horror genre, and it's just like the horror genre is really just, it's so interesting to me because of like there's a lot of like good horror movies that are on entry level indie type budgets, and it's interesting to see how those can like just immediately jump into the stratosphere. Like Squid Game came out of nowhere, I feel like, which isn't completely horror, but it's thriller-y. It's
I still like I mean, by the time this goes out, I might have seen Squid Game, but at this precise moment, I haven't seen Squid Game. But it sounds good, and I've heard a lot of people compare it to Battle Royale, which I love. So I'll definitely be checking it out.
I'll probably wait till it falls out of favor for several years before I watch it, and then go, wow, this is amazing, which is what I do with every program that's popular.
Which is again something you get to look forward to in 2022 when we come on your show. Let's see. But we brought you on for like I don't know if this made it into the cut, but the penultimate episode of our 12 Days of Christmas episodes. And we saved one of Andrew's favorite series for next to last. And I don't know how he feels about this episode. We'll find out about that later on. But we brought you on to talk about the X-Files. We're doing an X-Files Christmas episode, everyone. How fun is that?
Hey, it's fun.
Sorry, I constantly sound sarcastic. That was supposed to be energetic.
I just felt that the X-Files would bring something new to the table, because a lot of these are like just one cliche after another. and it was it was a change of pace, and I appreciated that.
Fair enough. Scott, do you want to, our listeners know about Andrew's love for the X-Files. They know that I've seen the series twice at least, all the way through. Sure. And I also very much enjoy it. What is your relationship with the X-Files?
So I am a fan of the X-Files, although I feel like I've watched it very sporadically. So it's part of the reason for that is like how it aired in the UK and kind of when I got on board and stuff like that. So I think I got into it when I was maybe about 10 or 11, and which is like 95, 96. So it'd been on a couple of years. And in the UK, it was shown like a kind of year behind when it was in the States. Because like with a lot of American shows in the UK, it would like air in the States in full. Then it would air on like Sky, which is like pay television, and then it would air on like, terrestrial television on like the BBC or whatever. And often it was when I was a kid, it was on like past my bedtime and stuff like that. So I was relying on kind of like seeing videos from cousins and stuff like that. So there's not a kind of proper chronological order, but I've always been a fan of the show, and I've seen most of it, and I've seen both movies, and I've seen like The Lone Gunman and Millennium and stuff like that. So I'm definitely a fan of the X-Files world franchise.
I have not seen The Lone Gunman or Millennium. Is that what it was?
Millennium, yeah. I think Lance Henriksen's great. So like, he's starred in a lot of bad films, but he's usually good in them.
Fair enough. Yeah. I think Andrew, you've seen both of those as well, right?
I don't think I've seen Millennium actually.
Oh.
But it is nice that it's all on Hulu now, the X-Files. And it was a couple years back that they released the HD version, because that hadn't been available for quite some time. But some of the like transition scenery or stuff that they used is still like low def, but I've never watched the series with the higher quality, so I do need to get back and watch it again.
I do appreciate that in the US on Hulu that they have in the series the first movie, because the last time I rewatched it, I had to like allegedly find it on other sources to stream.
Yeah, be very careful what you say there, Brandon.
Yeah, I think they had Fight the Future on Netflix, but they didn't have the one that's actually advances the story between season 5 and 6. So yeah. It was. I had to go from Netflix quality to a poor streaming service quality.
Yes,
but I appreciated that it was on Hulu now. I might have to go back and rewatch the series again.
And let's not forget that I think Vince Gilligan was, I believe, a writer and executive producer on this show. Most people know him as the creator of Breaking Bad. So I just feel like there were a lot of really talented people working on this show. And when you go back and watch it, it really is evident to me, honestly.
I do have a very important question for the two of you. Within the last, I think it was 5 years, we got a season 10 and 11 of the X-Files. Did either of you watch that and have thoughts?
I watched season 10, but not which was like 2016, but I never caught season 11, which was like 2018, right?
Yeah,
so like, and I remember, I remember watching season 10 and enjoying it, not loving it. It wasn't like peak X-Files, but I remember being kind of middling on it, being like, this is enjoyable. I think it's pretty good, but it's not amazing. But it was just kind of cool to see Mulder and Scully reunited and stuff like that after being away for a while. Yeah.
I'll be honest, I can't remember. I can't remember them distinctly. Or was the 11th one with the new characters that we were supposed to like that they kept cramming down our throats that we didn't like?
that was 10.
That was 10.
That was 10, and then it ends with spoiler alert, Mulder getting abducted by that triangle ship.
Oh yeah, the triangle ship.
And then at the beginning of season 11, spoiler alert again. Sorry, Scott.
They've had enough time to watch it.
It was either all a dream or season 11 is a prequel to that. I couldn't.
All I know is
it was indecipherable.
In season 11, something has happened to David Duchovny's face, and it looked weird to me. That's the only thing I can remember from season 11.
Aging, plastic surgery,
or lack of plastic surgery. I don't know, but I mean, here's the thing: I love the show so much that even if it's awful, I will consume anything. If there's a season 12. I will watch it. Even if it's terrible, I have to watch it.
I think Gillian Anderson, is that how you pronounce it?
Gillian, I think.
Gillian. I always get confused because some people are like, it's spelled Gillian, but pronounced Gillian. And then some people are like, it's spelled Gillian, but pronounced Gillian.
I think she's in British stuff now exclusively.
She was in Not Good Omens. She was like the media god in something recently, and I feel like it was a Neil Gaiman type book that was adapted into TV, but I don't remember what it was called. New Gods, American Gods, something like that. But yeah, I think she said after season 11 she didn't want to come back for season 12.
Oh boy, yeah.
Okay.
But there was a cliffhanger, so it's like, you need to come back. We need a movie. But yeah. So that was my one important question for the both of you. Yeah. And for those of you that are listening to this that don't know anything about The X-Files, The X-Files is an American science fiction drama television series created by Chris Carter. It originally ran from 1993 to 2002 on Fox. And it spanned 9 seasons with 202 episodes before coming back for, as we just talked about, a 10th and 11th season. And there were 2 movies. This revolves around the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, agents Fox Mulder and Dana Scully, who investigate the X-Files, which Wikipedia categorized as marginalized and unsolved cases involving paranormal phenomenon. Mulder is a true believer, and Scully is a medical doctor / skeptic, which I think really plays into the episode that we watched.
Well, she's like the ultimate skeptic because she'll literally see like an actual alien and then be like, that can't have actually happened. It's like she has irrefutable
gases
proof.
Flew into the air that hit light coming down from the sun to make it look like a spaceship.
Yeah. Reflected off. Was it like light from Mercury reflected off some swamp gas?
That lit up a weather balloon. So we watched How the Ghost Stole Christmas, season 6, episode 6. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So this takes place after the first movie. This takes place after like the first tight 5 seasons, I want to say, because this is me editorializing, but I feel like, you start a show, you have 5 season plan, and they capped it off with a movie at the height of its popularity, and then it starts to get a little wonky. 6 and 7 are good, but they don't capture the originality and freshness of the first few seasons. And then your star leaves, and then your other star leaves, and then you're following around the guy from Terminator 2 for a season.
Yeah, and Annabeth Gish, I think, is the woman Who
that played the
Terminator guy? What I can't. All of a sudden,
Robert Patrick.
Robert Patrick.
Robert
Thank you. I was going to say the wrong name, and I was going to be embarrassed.
Robert Pattinson. But yeah, we let's dive into How the Ghost Stole Christmas, which begins with a Christmas Eve stakeout that Mulder decided to just spring on Scully as he's watching a house for ghosts.
Yeah, but what else does he have to do, honestly?
Not ruin his partner's Christmas Eve that she's like last minute buying gifts for her family for.
Are the gifts in the back of her car not wrapped already?
She said she has to get home and wrap them before the morning.
Yeah, they looked wrapped to me.
You know, I didn't look that closely.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Did you?
I wasn't sure if it was just the wrapping paper protruding from the bags or like they kind of look wrapped to me too. But it's like I don't know. Like maybe she was just she really didn't want to go on this mission and just be I definitely have to wrap these presents. I loved her little line as well of being like. If I hear Silent Night one more time, I could have killed somebody, and I just wanted like a little scene before the scene we got where she's just in like a mall, just Silent Night blaring, and you can just see her boiling, just be like, oh god, I'm gonna crack.
like if the X-Files had one place to put a Family Guy style flashback, that would be yeah, the cutaway. That would be the perfect cutaway. Yes, I would be down. We should imagine like a recut of this episode while we're going through it.
Yeah,
because I would be down for seeing that scene as well. I just want to ask, how is Scully still a skeptic? We just talked about this, but how is she still a skeptic at this point? The last episode was a two-parter where she had to put Mulder's soul back in his body.
Thank you. No, it was swamp gas that reflected off of a weather balloon.
And I know she was knocked out for this part of the movie at the end of the movie, but the alien spaceship takes off and flies out over her into the horizon. And then she's like, what was that, Mulder? And he's like, God damn it. And
then it's like she wakes up and there's like a 500, I'm going to say meter yawning chasm in the ice. And she's like, what's that? I don't know. Don't worry about it.
I think that's true. I think like the kind of early seasons of the X-Files, they kind of got away with it of just being like, oh yeah, you can see why she's a skeptic. But as the series went on, you did start thinking like, does she like reset every episode? Is it like the Men in Black thing where somebody does the thing in front of her eyes and then it's like, oh, I've just forgotten all that.
Yeah, the neuralizer. Yeah, that's the best. Yeah, I think global warming, BP was there. These things happen. I guess I could have said Shell. Either way.
And of course, she drove all the way out there. Like, well, it's Christmas Eve. I'm pretty sure neither of them are like on the clock at this point, and she drove all the way out there to meet him.
Yeah. Because this isn't an X-File. This is just a Mulder lark.
Yeah.
At that time, they had cell phones too. I think the early seasons very first season, they may not have had cell phones. I don't remember, but then like at this point, you'd be like, no, I'm not coming out there.
Yeah.
I'm going home.
She came all the way out there to say, I'm not going to come out here. And then she had the ultimate line with don't you have somewhere to be on Christmas Eve? And it's like, no, his sister was abducted by aliens.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like, that's dark.
That's such an evil thing to say.
Yeah, remember that time your family was taken away from you?
Isn't his father dead at this point? And like,
I'm pretty sure.
And he doesn't know, spoilers, who his biological father is. Or that he has an actual different biological father. Also, his biological father's dead at this point, isn't he? I don't remember. I haven't watched it in forever.
Can I just say, the other thing with this show is, why do they have the most ineffective flashlights I've ever seen? Their flashlights, they do not illuminate anything except the camera when it points toward the camera for effect. But they're like the weakest flashlights I've ever seen. But at one point, I think they get like the big ones with like the giant with rectangular
like
battery,
the AD batteries,
like the floodlight one. I do feel like they get those later, but like these tiny little flashlights just won't do.
It was, we were trying to build the economy back up. You can't be spending all your money on flashlights.
That's true
for the FBI. So I think at that point in the story, Mulder it's not clear whether the ghosts steal her keys or Mulder has stolen her keys.
I do believe Mulder has stolen the keys.
Really?
Based on
that's
the
never
later
clarified
thing. Yeah.
at any point in the episode. It's always kind of open ended whether the ghosts or Mulder stole the keys. I am with Andrew. I think that Mulder's stole the keys.
It's very Mulder.
Just lied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On Christmas Eve, though, that's another dick thing. Like
I know it really is, though. You're right.
Although I do want to say, like, in that opening scene, I like how the opening scene really establishes the tone of the episode and how it's kind of like a funnier one. And I like some of the funny X-Files episodes. Like Bad Blood is one of my favorite X-File episodes. For the vampire one where you see it from both of their perspectives. And that's a fun episode. But anyway, so like when Scully says to Mulder, when he's telling her like what's going on about the ghosts and stuff, and she goes, "What is that? Is that the sound of a hound baying on the moor?" And it just like perfectly sets up like
I thought that was a really good line.
This is what we're doing.
Like no one in real life would ever say anything like that, but I thought it was a great line.
No. It's like one of those conversations. It's one of those very kind of like TV movie conversations. It's like a kind of Scream thing, or whatever, like so something like that. It's not a real conversation.
It's like the other one on TV. People always say "look" before they say "look." I want to talk to you. No one says that. I've never heard anyone say "look" with a comma and then proceed to say what they're saying. It's a 90s thing.
I mean, I noted in my notes. It's like. They like both, since it's just the two of them for most of the episode and then like maybe two other people, they really had to like memorize just like full on soliloquies between talking to each other. Like I know that's like the Vince Gilligan, is it Vince Gilligan or Chris Carter like style of writing?
Both.
Yeah. They're very good at just like, and both the actors are just very good at just regurgitating like so much.
That's a lot. I bet that's really hard to learn. But I when you sent me that text, first of all, I'm going to admit something. I had to look up soliloquy because I didn't know what that meant. And then as soon as I started watching the episode, I was like, my God, that is all they do.
I really like Scully's line. "I'm afraid, but it's an irrational fear."
Like she was admitting she had the fear.
Yes.
But it was okay because it was irrational. That was a little bit weird.
Because she was like, "I'm not afraid because it's all you have to do is think rationally."
Well, I guess it's like if you're afraid of roller coasters, rationally, they're fairly safe and you're not going to die, but you're still scared.
The last time I was on a roller coaster, Kayla, Andrew's wife, I think the three of us were in Vegas like 10 years ago, 9 years ago.
The Adventure Dome at Circus. And
Andrew didn't want to go on a roller coaster. His wife really loves roller coasters. And I'm like, this is a measly roller coaster. I can handle this one. I'll take one for the team. And as we're just like slowly going up this rickety roller coaster, Kayla's sitting next to me just like chattering away because I think that's her nervous tick. She talks a lot, and I'm just like, I am going to kill you. Like in my head, I'm just like, stop talking. I'm stressing out here. And I don't know why we were talking about roller coasters.
And then after that, someone spat on us from an overpass.
What?
And we got Hep C. Remember? No, we were going like on a water ride, and there was a bridge that went over it, and someone spat over the edge. You remember that?
No, that might have been when you knew. I don't remember that part.
In case you were wondering, Circus is the literal armpit of Las Vegas. I would not recommend it.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Sorry, we got off on a tangent there. Mulder mentions that were 3 double murders in the last 80 years on Christmas Eve at this place. Like, and that's why he's staking it out and with Scully. Like,
well, I mean, he's in the FBI. It is a crime, but I like how in your notes it makes me laugh because 80 years on Christmas Eve. ... Safe.
I meant to put an ellipsis, but an extra period.
No, the extra dot makes it funnier somehow. Yeah. I don't know why.
And then Mulder scares her with the flashlight gag where you put a flashlight under your face. And, yeah. Has that ever actually scared anyone?
No, but of course in TV.
Yeah. Scares people in TV and movies a lot, but I don't think it's ever
I mean, I guess if I was in a situation like that, it might be more scary and also sort of inappropriate considering what's going on.
Yeah. Speaking of what was going on, they find two dead bodies under the floorboard that are dressed exactly like Mulder and Scully, which is spooky.
That's when the episode started to get familiar to me. Like I have obviously have seen this before, but it's been a very long time, and that was when I was like, oh yeah, I remember this now. It took me a little bit longer, but like at the first half of this episode, I was like, I, for the life of me, cannot remember watching this episode. But
I was the same. It was later. It was slightly later on it's when one of the other actors appears. Is when I was like, oh yeah, I think I have seen this.
Old ghost couple. It's starting to come back to me.
Ed Asner.
Because from the synopsis, I thought it was the episode. I think it was the episode before it, like where he's body swapped or something. Or I thought it was the episode where they were like on a ship and then they're in like the 1940s somehow.
No, that's a different. That one's really good. That's with the Bermuda Triangle.
That's what it was.
And they're like different people, but that's like one of my favorite episodes. The weird ship time travel one.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Good episode. I was hoping it was this episode, but this was a good episode. I mean, this was a fun episode. Where to go from here? So they meet. They get separated in a single room, and they keep like trying to exit the room and enter the room, but there's like a brick wall or something.
That was a funny sequence. I enjoyed that.
The door gag where they would exit and enter the same room.
Yep. And they tried to go through the other door thinking it would just take them back through, and then it didn't. Yeah, that worked for me.
And then
I also wanted to mention that in terms of like the kind of quirkiness of the episode, that the score worked for me as well. That kind of tinkly harpsichord kind of baroque thing that they were doing. I thought like that added to the atmosphere of the episode.
They even made a joke about how wouldn't it have made more sense to have killed themselves on Halloween?
Yes,
because it felt very like a Halloween episode, which is so like the X-Files, to take a warm fuzzy holiday and turn it into a creepy holiday.
But the wife was like, no one feels despair on Halloween. Or the ghost wife was like, no one feels despair on Halloween.
If there's that much despair in your life, you're probably feeling it most days. I don't know if later in the episode, what does Mulder say? He's like, only 365 more shopping days until what? That was a really funny line, but I can't remember the exact way that he put it.
Until next Christmas.
Yeah, but it was like shopping days of misery.
Only 365 more shopping days until even more loneliness.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Which I think really complements like the line from Lily Tomlin where she says, who feels who is filled with futility and hopelessness on Halloween.
Wait, that was Lily Tomlin?
Yeah. And then Ed Asner obviously was the other guy.
Yeah.
Duh. Okay. I apparently didn't do enough research. I was like, those people look familiar for some reason. We're introduced to an elderly couple, each split off with Mulder and Scully, and we eventually discover they're ghosts and they're Jewish.
I like that line. Where's your Christmas tree? We're Jewish.
Boo. Yeah. And then I think Mulder, I think she reveals her gun or a giant hole in her stomach to Mulder.
They kind of try and psychologically toy with them first, because Ed Asner has a conversation with Mulder where he claims to be a paranormal psychologist, and then does a kind of like pop psychology read of Mulder.
I love that.
And calls him a self-righteous narcissist. It's quite a fun little scene.
Well, Ed Asner goes down this whole like psychoanalysis thing, which is obviously just like what Mulder would project onto him. And then at the end of Ed Asner's whole thing, Mulder's just like, paramasturbatory? I love that line so much, because when he first said paramasturbatory, I just laughed, and then
he goes on a whole tirade.
He waits a beat and he's just like, paramasturbatory.
Yeah.
That was good.
I guess we could also point out when Scully meets her first ghost, she, for an FBI agent, has a hell of a hard time pulling her gun on an old woman.
Yeah, how long is it going to take her to draw her weapon? I mean, that was ridiculous.
That was a good minute, was it not? Of her just like trying to pull her gun out of the back of her belt. Yeah, it was strange.
Yeah, there's a police brutality joke to be made there, but I won't make it. Sorry.
I also like the line, "I don't show my hole to just anyone," when she reveals she was a ghost to Mulder.
The lowest of lowbrow humor, but yet I approve.
I giggled at that as well. I got to say.
Oddly enough, that was the moment I started to vaguely remember the episode, is what I've noted.
Oh, when I remembered the episode, for some reason, is when Ed Asner appeared. Like when he first appeared, I was like, "Oh, okay, I think I have seen this." I was like, "Oh." Yeah.
Let's see. My notes kind of trail off at this point. I have again threatening a ghost with a gun.
That became a bit outrageous, but obviously Scully still thought they were people.
True, and I guess one of them was corporeal because Mulder touched them.
Yeah.
But then they both shoot each other. Mulder and Scully shoot each other, or at least we're led to believe at some point they shoot each other. I believe the
ghost took the form of Mulder and or Scully and confused them.
Which confused me, because you see Ed Asner pulling her back as both Mulder and him. So I was like, is she possessing him? I was confused.
A bit before that, talking about the confusing things in the episode, that something that they do not explain in the episode is when Mulder is in the library. And it has that scene where it's like, "Oh, I don't just show my hole to anyone." And then we get retold the story of the star-crossed lovers, which we get told at the start of the episode. And then he pulls a book off the bookcase that has the title of the episode on it. And we read about the suicide pact again. And
I agree.
In both tellings of the story, they're a young couple, and Mulder asks, like, how have you aged, or like what happened there? Like, I thought you were like young star-crossed lovers, and it's never explained. And I was like, do they just think of themselves as old now, so they're appearing as old to them, or like it's just age? Not.
Yeah, that reminds me of two things. One is, when she's trying to find the book, she keeps pulling them out with presumably some kind of magic or whatever.
Yeah, like ghost powers.
Ghost powers.
Nope. Yeah. If you had that sort of ghost power, wouldn't you just know which freaking book it was to begin with? You'd just be like, give me the one book that I need. You don't have to like filter through all of them. That seems stupid.
Yeah,
you're a
that
ghost.
Seems odd as well, because you think that would be the book that they pull out every time on every haunting, because that's their story.
Where did I put that? Leave it on the coffee table.
As a ghost, you got to be spooky about it, right? I mean,
okay, show off some of your ghost powers. So you think she was just stalling for time?
I think it was a bit obnoxious.
To show off some ghost powers.
And the other thing is, so they never really talked about how they were killed. You said whether it was a suicide pact, or did one kill one and then kill themselves? Murder-suicide?
I think it was a murder-suicide. I think it's implied that he like killed her and then he killed himself.
Yeah, did he shoot her with a cannon? I'm like, what's the...
That is...
I mean, how are you...
There's a giant hole.
You're committing a murder-suicide, and you get a Civil War cannon out. I mean, it just doesn't seem right to me.
It does seem crazy that it's like her whole like stomach has gone, and then he's got like the headshot of like a handgun, so like a cannon for her, but it's just like
to be fair, if they've been haunting for at least 80 years, that would have been 1916.
1917 is the year that this all happened. They said at the beginning.
Oh, maybe he clearly stole a cannon from the First World War.
I'm telling you.
But yeah, it's what was I going to say?
He was a Civil War reenactor.
Yeah, gone wrong.
I they look like people that would do that. Yeah. I lost my train of thought. I had one more point for that, but no, I lost it.
I don't know. There's some
Someone
comedian that does a joke about having a cannonball wound. And in his bit, one of the things is him like putting ointment around the edge of the wound. And it's really funny. I'll send you the link after this.
Yeah. So yeah, the murders. Oh, that's what it was. Murder, suicide. They kept saying murder, suicide. It's like, did Ed Asner come home and find her with another lover, or like why did?
Yeah, that seems a bit aggressive. Like, why not just both take poison? You know,
is it a Romeo and Juliet thing?
Don't try this at home, kids.
Yes, Mulder does say at the start of the episode that like they kind of just couldn't be without each other, and they didn't want to. They were kind of both young and like kind of at their peak, and they wanted to kind of call it quits there. That was the implication at the start of when he's in the car talking about it.
Like, we had a good run,
like
didn't we?
The family couple, and they wanted their love to be forever at that moment.
And now they're stuck in this house. That's
such
fun.
with such a nice house too.
Heartwarming.
Yeah. So, both Mulder and Scully are bleeding out as they have been shot by Ghost Lily Tom. Wow, can't even say her last name. By the female ghost. And
I should say, by the way, I don't know if either of you laughed at this, but Scully's shocked I've been shot face is brilliant. Like her
absolutely.
kind of and then she takes like 5 minutes to collapse. I thought that was it wasn't quite Alan Rickman standard, but it was moving towards that kind of territory.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that reference. That's perfect.
It was at that point that I was like, I don't recall them dying in this.
Exactly.
In the middle of this series, and it's revealed that neither of them were actually shot. The ghosts were trying to make them think they were shot so that they would shoot each other, which I think is a cop-out ending.
I just figured that out because I was like, wait, they were shot. You can't just be unshot, but ghosts can't really hurt you. So they made them think they were shot. But I think that's the only reason they could like crawl down the hallway is because if you were truly shot like that, you'd just be dead.
There was so much blood. So much blood.
Yeah.
But in reality, they weren't actually shot. They were just dragging themselves around. And then at the end, they're just like normal again.
Right. So
because it was all in their mind.
And they just like tear ass out of that driveway. They would jump with their cars, just take off.
Yes. I was, because as it was panning away, I'm like, so the meaning of Christmas is murder, suicide.
Everyone knows that.
God bless us, everyone.
All through the house, not a creature was stirring because they had all killed each other. What? Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
The kind of epilogue to the episode was Mulder fell asleep watching
A Christmas Carol.
It's
one of the versions of A Christmas Carol starring Alistair Stone.
Wow, but he knows his stuff.
At first, I was going to comment, like, why is he watching like a 14-inch CRT black and white television? I remembered it was the 90s. Like, that's what my parents had, a 13-inch TV. That's what I watched the X-Files on when it was on syndication.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he's watching in black and white television. It's just a black and white film.
Sure, that's fair. True. But that's a good point. That's a good point.
And then Scully shows up unannounced because she can't sleep due to her, I don't know, was swamp gas. It was I assume it was a gas leak. That's her justification. She never says it outright, but how is she not? How is she still a skeptic?
Yeah, well, that was really strange. I don't know what happened. It must have just been a bad dream.
Yeah, I have in my notes. You drove to meet him at 11 p.m. Christmas Eve. Of course, you wanted to be out there with him, Scully.
Exactly.
And then they banged. That's my headcanon for the ending of the episode. What actually happened is they exchange small Christmas gifts, which they both said they weren't going to do.
Yeah.
And then
but this does seem like a kind of building block, like, because as far as I remember, they're not in a relationship at this point.
Right.
So like this, I mean, and it is like the ghosts kind of keep telling them that, like, because the ghosts view them as a couple and kind of keep telling them that, like, you know, like the feelings they have for each other, and like, feelings? What are you talking about? You know, so like there's a lot of kind of building blocks in this episode for the, you know, like the future relationship.
But their bond allows them to escape alive, so maybe it's stronger than they realize.
I mean, from a very meta perspective, the ghosts were the audience just yelling at them to get together.
Yeah,
basically, yes. And I like also, like, the ghosts have, like, their, before the kind of epilogue with Mulder and Scully, the ghosts have their kind of own epilogue by the fireplace. And the funny thing about that is, like, they don't seem all that annoyed. They just seem like kind of like sitting by the fireplace, like, shucks, that one got away. Oh, better luck next Christmas, I guess.
Yeah. These people are like relatively homicidal. It's kind of uncool, honestly.
free advertisement for next year, you know. Unless Mulder and Scully don't tell anyone about the experience. I feel like Mulder would tell everyone about that experience, right?
Yeah, that's true. Also, like, I wasn't quite sure. There's something else that's not explained in the episode. At one point, Ed Asner makes this comment about, like, oh, you know, like, ages ago, you know, we used to get like years to torture people and stuff like that. And now we're like, now it's just, we've just got Christmas Eve. And I was like, is there some sort of
I have the answer to that one.
Okay.
What they meant was because they had said people had moved into the house. So
right. But then the legend was that it happens Christmas Eve, so that's when people come. They would now that it's foreclosed or whatever, or condemned.
Okay. They would torture. They would torture the residents up until Christmas Eve, which is when they would kill themselves.
Correct. Okay. So that has this reputation for Christmas Eve being the day, and
this one night they only had like 1 hour to get them to kill each other. Or
okay. But okay. That makes sense.
If it were in this decade, then like the Property Brothers would just go in there and put in like one of those cascading countertops on the kitchen island and sell it for like $2 million.
That's the guy that married Zoe Deschanel.
No, that's the HGTV show with the two brothers from Canada that renovate houses.
Pretty sure one of them's dating Zoe Deschanel.
That's probably true.
Oh, okay.
Any final thoughts on the episode before we close this one out?
It's a classic. It made me want to rewatch the X-Files, so now I have to do that.
Same.
Yeah, same. I think it's a really good episode. I think that, like, Duchovny and Gillian Anderson are like really good in it, and Ez Asner and Lily Tomlin, they're both very funny actors, and they're very funny here, and it's sharply scripted, and it's just an all round just really entertaining episode. I'm really glad of all the 12 episodes that you gave to me to possibly come on. I came on this one.
We're happy to have you for it.
Something has to be said about the fact that, like, go watch 2-3 episodes of Chicago PD or Fire or Med, and then watch this, and you're just going to see that the quality of this show is really, really good. And I just don't think there's a lot on TV right now that matches the quality of some of these 90s shows.
Well, I mean, clearly nothing on CBS is anywhere near this.
Very true.
All right. I guess that's it for this holiday edition of Namely 90s. Tune in tomorrow for the conclusion to our 2021 12 Days of Christmas specials. Thank you to Scott Murphy of All 90s Action All the Time and New Horror Express for coming on the show. Can you let our listeners know where to find you?
Yeah, of course. All 90s Action All the Time. You can find us on Twitter at 90s Action. That's all one thing. And you can find us in a variety of ways for New Horror Express. There's the website, www.newhorrorexpress.com. There is Twitter at New Horror EXP. And I'm also on Facebook. And yeah, that's it.
Oh, fantastic.
Awesome.
And as always, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Namely90s with a 90s, or find our personal accounts at bschwitty and at NamelyAndrew, and tell us what you want us to talk about on future episodes. If you'd like to support the show, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Namely90s, also with a 90s. And finally, you can contact us through our website, Namely90s.com. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, I Want to Believe, Deezer, TuneIn, iHeart, and wherever you get your podcasts at. I'm Brandon, that's Andrew, and thank you one final time to Scott. I wrote from Namely 90s. You're not from Namely 90s. She's from all 90s action all the time.
You want me to find
Once you're on
a
once.
triple threat, you know,
Yeah,
like
that'll be your triple threat. Thank you to Scott from all 90s action all the time and New Horror Express. Please check those out. Give him some love and tune in tomorrow for the conclusion for our 12 days of Christmas specials, and we'll catch you for day 12. I keep saying that over and over again. Happy New Year's
And
Eve.
Happy New Year.
Cheers.
Happy New Year.
All right.
Well done.